Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Inside Icon. And with me today, it's Min, and we're going to talk all about Inside Icon and what's been keeping Min busy. Min, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. It's 11 p.m., but it's all good.
Yeah, we've had a bit of awkward timing going on. Um, it's early over here, it's
Okay.
late over there. Um, yeah,
Past
wondering,
past my bedtime. It's all good.
yeah, we'll try and keep it short to the point. How has your month of July been?
Yeah. So I think the month of July has been mostly um, keeping the operations in check. So keeping the team focused mainly on obviously the public incentive testnet for xCall, which has
Yeah.
been we've been spending a lot of time preparing, making sure as we covered last video, we had the focus group, which went very well. So we want to be able to continue that and keep it going. So, I think the big part of that is to make sure that we are well prepared for the public uh, testnet, which is obviously much bigger. Um,
Yeah.
The other part is security. Security has been a big issue. Not just for Icon, but our entire industry.
Hmm.
Most recently, as many people know, the balance DAO had an exploit, and unfortunately, uh, the team has done, from what we saw and from after talking with the balance team, is that they've done everything that they could, everything right. Um, but exploits still happen, and one of the
Every
most difficult
everything
part
right
is
in terms
scaling.
of security measures, you mean?
Yeah, I mean they got internally they've done all the testing. Externally, they got an external audit, which we've obviously spent quite a bit of money to make sure that um, these measures are kept in place. So, I think the balance team did a great job of trying to prevent any type of issues, and
Yeah.
a lot of other projects outside of Icon also do that. But exploits is just a very it happens quite often in our industry, which is a big problem. And scaling security is a industry-wide problem as well. So yeah, I think that is something that's been um, in my mind and on a lot of people's mind. Lastly, resource planning. Um, our team, we continue to look for good hires and also carving out budget, especially in this the current um, challenging time for the crypto industry. We try to do everything we can. So yeah,
Yeah.
and then also think about growth um, after this year, where we've been preparing a lot to make sure that all the testnet goes well, and launching xCall with a lot of integrations. Just thinking about growth has been a big part of my time as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see how the like security exploits are just a major setback in terms of finances, but also development and mind space and time, where you have to now spend a lot of time on these issues. Uh,
Right.
when you'd rather be spending your time on future planning, building, and growth, like you said. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, on that, the hype over the past couple of months, I'd say, has been more AI driven, as opposed to Web3 driven, in the
Mhm.
current markets where we are at. Um, in your experience, are you like noticing any shift back? Is Web3 clawing back a bit of mind space on AI in July, or is it still, or are they going hand in hand? Like, are you noticing any trends here?
Good question. Maybe you might be better in understanding AI. I mean, you've obviously went to Paris recently, and I heard there was a lot of talks about blockchain and AI. Me personally, I've been AI has been the last thing on my mind.
Yeah.
Uh, I know that my partners in Korea, including Parameta, has been working and researching with generative AI and trying to figure out, what the next, um, trend is and where they could invest their time and effort in. But, Icon and our project right now, we're super focused on. We know what needs to be done in the near term. We know what our goals are by the end of this year. So just keeping all that focus has been my priority. So yeah, that's what I've been focusing on.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I did speak to a lot of. I went to ETHCC Paris. A lot of
Hmm.
side events. Spoke to a lot of people, in different positions at different projects, checking out what they were doing, checking out if they might be interested in hopping on our incentivized testnet, which is launching next week.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Didn't run into too much AI driven projects or AI projects. To be fair,
Hmm.
makes sense because it was like Ethereum conference, lots of Web3 buzzing
Yeah.
around. But obviously, reading in the space how AI is getting combined and seeing if it can get combined with Web3 or with crypto in a way that is that actually makes sense and is sustainable. I guess is a win-win. Um, okay, well. We'll hop on to the next topic, which in this case is BTP,
Hmm.
Icon's interoperability protocol. BTP is not xCall. We get to that a bit later.
Yeah.
Couple of questions about BTP. It's currently running on testnet, and there's actually you can monitor its state. There's a page where you can see how the connections are faring on testnet. And I guess a quick fire question would be, what are the future plans for BTP as an interoperability protocol in light
Hmm.
of uh, a lot of resources currently focus on xCall as a interoperability solution, like an interface that would use multiple protocols. Like it could use BTP, it could use IBC. In the future, it might use the Chainlink solution, layer 0. But just BTP as an interoperability protocol. What are the future plans for development would be the question.
Yeah. That's a very good question. And we're taking things one step at a time. I think we've made some mistakes prior to in prior years, trying to get ahead of ourselves, trying to do a little bit too much. So at the current moment, we're just very laser focused on making sure that the integration with ETH and integration with BSC are completed. They work just great. It's extremely secure. Just having ETH and, Binance Smart Chain itself, I think is a huge, huge benefit, um, because of the fact that BTP is what we believe to be a great technology when it comes to interoperability, and it is something that a design and architecture that is built for generations and
Mm.
built for the future. What are we thinking about in the future is obviously we're thinking in many different directions. First and foremost is connecting with the Icon SDK chain, such as Hava, and
Mhm.
Hava is also included in our public incentivized testnet, and hopefully there's some great use cases coming out from there. But yeah, I mean, we're trying to create like a very controlled environment. I think one of my biggest concern in interoperability is security and scaling security. And until some of those problems get figured out. I think rolling things out slowly is the right way to go.
When you say scaling security, do you mean that it's currently like prohibitively expensive to launch new tech because of the security aspects or costs that are involved? Like you need to spend so much money to kind of get, to buy security audits, internal structures, maybe engineers who just focus solely on security, which is so expensive that it's hard to launch multiple products because you're going to have to pay for all of that. Is that the challenge in scaling security?
Great question. I think it's various different problems. Like what you just mentioned, how external audits are expensive, but that is just one factor. It
Hmm.
is the quality of those assets, or the quality of those audits are another set of problems. Um, Being able to be prepared to have quality audits is another set of problems. Having a framework for the entire process, having a very secure auditing process, internally and externally is another problem. So I think, when we look at security, there's just so many security holes all around that could be improved. Um, and it's just, I think, the culture around security at the moment and how we perceive it. I don't think it's as emphasized as it should be, which is causing a lot of these issues. So
Yeah.
I think my answer seems very shallow at the moment, but I think I could spend a lot of time talking about like just security in itself.
Yeah.
But just know that it's not just cost, but like if you spend your money on something and you pay for something, you expect like quality outcome. But I don't think it's there today in this industry.
Yeah. In terms of security.
Yeah, in terms of security. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of like the next BTP related question. It's currently on testnet now.
Mhm.
Prior, we've had an icon bridge and we've seen an icon bridge and BTP audit, which you can find on the icon website. It's linked there, so the like elements and parts of the code have been um, audited. Before BTP would move to mainnet, would it require another one of these audits, or is there a different approach to security that we want to try out? I know there's bug bounties bug bounty programs like the one that Icon has running with Immunify, where you kind of reward white hat hackers for exposing vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
um, then you could also argue that instead of paying out 100K grants or 100K audits, you could actually hire someone to just work full time on the internal security. Like is there an approach in place for BTP moving forward, or is that one of those steps that is going to come next once we've tackled the incentivized testnet and xCall launch?
Yeah, I think you cover some of those points. I don't think we have like an exact recipe for
Yeah,
what makes a perfect um, process of ensuring security. I think it depends on the technology, the product, like how many smart contracts there are involved, how many people, what cost, how much it costs. All of that has to be factored in, and we need to sort of plan the most optimal outcome for
yeah,
everything.
yeah,
So yes, the goal is to have, as I would say, as many people take a look at it, not only looking at it, but looking deep into it, right? I think there's a difference there. I think we need to recognize is that I think the problem with our industry is not just, you know, you could spend a lot of money, you could look at things, but and you could get a little certificate and say, a lot of people look at it, but I don't think that is a good standard, and I think that's the standard that we have today, which is not um, a problem, in my opinion. I think we need to create methods of looking deep into these issues, right? So obviously, audit has failed in our industry over and over again. Billions of dollars have been lost due to you know, smart contract, failures and exploits. And I'm not saying that's like a fault of an individual or a external audit company. I think it is just a learning process, but at the same time, there's so much improvements that we need to make, and we've seen that with the most recent balance DAO exploit. And it's not just about getting an audit, but how we can better prepare for higher quality audit. How do we better
Hmm.
prepare for, a deeper understanding of the code base, and, you know, both coming up with like preemptive measures as well as like response or, reactive measures as well. So I could imagine where, kind of going back to your question, is, there can be a scenario depending on like what we decide to do where we can be comfortable, uh, you know, where we release BTP smart contract on mainnet without having a full external audit. However, having some very strict controls in place, right?
Hmm.
So having
Hmm.
some limitations. So, you know, with that, where we have enough internal resources spent and being comfortable, but at the same time, having controls where, if there is an exploit, we could be able to control like those type of scenarios.
Yeah.
So I think having, and we usually, have very smart people work with, various project managers to make those type of decisions. So I'm obviously not the technical, person to make those decisions. It's not up to me. It's the group that makes those type of decisions. But it's just, yeah, kind of going back. There could be many different scenarios, but the, singular goal is to make sure that we have the level of comfortability when it comes to releasing products.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for that answer.
Long-winded answer. Sorry about
well,
that.
well, it's a good one, and I've asked this question or similar versions of this question. I've been asking a lot of people as
Mhm.
well, and I guess the answer is the same in a way. That it's not there's not one clear solution to this issue, and indeed, the way it's going now is not by all means not perfect, but like you now mentioned, it also depends on the project or the type of
Mhm.
product that you're working with, that it kind of needs like a tailored solution. Like every type would need its own approach in terms of security. So I guess that's what we're going for as well with BTP here. um, that that brings us to our next topic, which is xCall service. We're going to be launching
Mhm.
the incentivized testnet next Monday. There was a really good Twitter Spaces done yesterday by the With Iconists DAO. So I recommend anyone listening in to go and listen to that.
Mhm.
That would explain everything about xCall, what it does, where it's at, and the incentivized testnet coming up. There's about $200,000 in rewards for projects who win
Mhm.
uh, in certain challenge categories. What I'm kind of hopping to my second question actually. Let me just rewind
Take
first.
your time. Yeah.
Min, what are your expectations for this xCall incentivized testnet? Let's start there.
Oh man. Obviously we have very high expectations in terms of, making sure that everything goes quite smoothly. I think defining success it's not easy, but I think in terms of expectations, number one, Uh, I've been stressing this over and over again. It's like making sure that we have no hiccups in place. So, which is the reason why we had like the focus group kind of run through it once. We have sort of a month to prepare, taking those feedback from the focus group and applying them to, the public testnet phase as well, just to make sure that we have, a lot of things ready. Um, Two is more about like solid turnout. It's not just about the number of people or number of developers that are on here. It's just having quality people who are excited about our product and genuinely wants to contribute and use it and provide some genuine feedback. Third, mm, maybe having like, some quality contributions, at least one from each challenge category would be, maybe I'm asking a little bit too much, but, quality always wins. It's not about pure numbers.
Yeah.
And let's see, at the end of the day, what's important to me and what's important to our team is that we have like, we could confirm that what we built at like, has value, is quality, it's important for the developer community. So, having some, genuine confirmation that, what we are building is useful and is, something that they would use and recommend to other people. I think that's what we're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. You mentioned the challenges. There is roughly 20 different challenge categories.
20?
Um,
Really?
no, there's 20. Sorry, there's 4 categories and there's 20 different challenges, I believe,
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
roughly.
yeah.
So
Okay.
challenges can range from build a dApp that utilizes xCall and does xCall transactions, build
Mhm.
a cross-chain NFT marketplace. But another challenge is, for example, build tooling, xCall tooling that helps other developers build with xCall. So, the
Yeah.
challenges range across 4 categories. Is there any
Mhm.
particular challenge that you're most curious or excited about what the outcome could be? Because the testnet runs until the 11th of September. So there's time there for teams to come in and work on them.
Mhm.
Any particular challenge?
So, I mean, good question. The last time I looked at these categories and challenges, I don't think it changed too much. That's why I was a little bit surprised when you said 20 categories because I don't remember 20. But anyway, um, yeah, I definitely think one of the things that you mentioned, tooling, I think that's been one thing that's has been a weakness for us
Hmm.
overall,
Hmm.
not having tooling for xCall and for BTP. So I think if I had to pick one, I can't remember every challenge or every category at the moment, but that one definitely sticks out at the moment.
Yeah, we've got 2 challenges in the tooling category. One challenge is called simplify the development pipeline, and
Hmm.
the other one is simplify tracking and estimation of transactions. And these are
Right.
uh, uh, high prize challenges with each 2 winners. So essentially, there's four teams that could walk away with the main prize there if they come up
Right.
with quality solutions. So I guess the incentivization is on point for it, and now we need to see what teams come up with. I do think tooling is important as well, even though I like to see my cross-chain dApps, dexers, NFT marketplaces. But obviously, if you have quality tooling in place, it becomes easier it's a catalyst for others to build and create with xCall, I think.
Right. And like you mentioned, sorry, I need to get closer to the mic. But like you mentioned, I think both of them is, the tooling, the purpose is to simplify, right? So making it easier for developers is very important, right? It's like the
Yeah.
user experience of developers. So, I think the more tooling we could get to make development process easier for for everyone is that's what I kind of consider as like a first user experience for developers,
Mhm.
which is just one of the most important things when it comes to building a product.
Yeah. And if you're not a developer, but you're an Icon community member, a user, a long-time lurker, uh, is there is this
Hmm.
incentivized testnet program for you? Is there anything you can do as a regular user here, or are we just watching from the sidelines?
Great question. Maybe you have a different opinion, and I would love to hear your opinion as well.
Yeah.
But when I went through these challenges, I would say, me uh, as a not non-developer, I'll say it'll be very, very tough, almost impossible. Of course, obviously, I understand the goals of these challenges, but I can't remember any challenges where I would be able to participate, honestly.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
but you're
Yeah.
talking from a guy who is, have no skill set when it comes to development.
Yeah. Me.
Yep.
There is, well, then what I think the same. And for users, the most
Hmm.
important like tool that users actually have is their ability to give or provide feedback on, the apps, dApps stuff that gets built for them. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what a user can do. And I don't know if they will be able to hop on, you could probably hop on Testnet and try out stuff that these teams are working on if they ask for it
Hmm.
at that stage. And otherwise, it would be at a later phase. But like users aren't useless. They can provide very valuable feedback, which is very good for, dApps in development to kind of tweak and improve their product. And there is actually uh, there's challenges for content creation. So I don't think every user creates content, but if you do, then you can actually create community content, or
Yeah.
DApp development content, and there's prizes for that as well.
Yeah.
Um,
I would,
Now,
yeah.
yeah,
So I would say that, yeah, I think in that case, yeah, I would say it would probably make it easier if you pair up with somebody who has a bit of technical knowledge, would you say?
in content creation,
Yeah, content creation. Yeah.
100%. That's what we do all the time. We get them on the show and we ask them all the questions
Yeah.
because that's what you do need. But then there's also the kind of like the Twitter or X content creation that you could do, threads, blog posts, comparison charts, dive into in xCall.dev, beautiful documentation, dive in there and maybe read it, understand it, and cartoon it or draw it up in different ways. Like those are things that you could do as a user if you're interested to play around with the technology and create content for whether it's YouTube or Twitter, X, CoinMarketCap community where we're definitely on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, next question. I'll move on with it. The xCall solution, we say it's future proof because it allows users to swap out the interoperability protocol that runs in the middle. So there's two blockchains that we are connecting. We're doing interchain messaging, but the protocol
Hmm.
that is used in the middle can be BTP. It
Yep.
can be IBC, currently under development, connecting
Right.
to Neutron chain, Archway chain. Um, we want to add more to that.
Right.
Do you know which protocols are the teams looking at for future like additions or development? Anything interesting going on there?
I mean, yes. So I know that one protocol we looked at was, Polkadot's, I believe it was XEM.
Yeah.
Previously, when we were um, trying to work with third party developer in our ecosystem on the ICE blockchain project, which sadly we kind of put it on hold or we discontinued at the moment. But outside of that, I mean, I think our team has looked into all the available options, such as Layer Zero, Wormhole, even the most recent solution, CCIP by Chainlink, right?
Yep.
So I think that's been getting a lot of press lately. I think it's fascinating to see a lot of interest in interoperability technology and different methods. I think overall, I think at the end of the day, we're going to be looking at all of these and prioritizing which ones that needs to be integrated into xCall, and everything will be eventually integrated into xCall. It's just a matter of time.
Hmm.
But all I want to say is that it's just like one part of the equation. Integration is.
Hmm.
Um, the other part of the equation is ease of use, the usability. You know, we just want to make it like very very simple for developers just to add one line of code. Just to integrate any of these options, right?
Yep.
So being able to click and choose. Click and choose is probably not the right word, but you get the point. Very,
Drag
very
and drop.
easy. Yeah.
This is what
So,
Eric mentioned yesterday at the with Iconists DAO Twitter Spaces
mhm,
about xCall. Eric is the technical
yeah,
or one of technical leads at the Icon Foundation, and he mentioned that the goal for xCall is to make cross-chain transactions feel as similar as possible as same chain transactions. So whether you're making a transaction on the same blockchain or you're hopping to the next one with xCall,
yeah.
that experience, that ease of use should be near similar. And of course, it's not going to be 100% similar because it's two different things. But he mentioned that on that Spaces as well, which is in line with what you say.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the goal. And
Yeah.
I'm sure it will take some, work to get there. But, I think we're almost there from what we've seen so far. And, I think we'll continue to make that easier and easier. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess a lot of developer feedback coming from this incentivized testnet as well. Earlier we had focus testing, lots of feedback, all gets implemented, product gets
Hmm.
improved. Incentivized testnet, there might be certain quirks or tweaks that we can then improve on to make it better as we move forward, to make it
Yeah.
as easy as possible. And one day I will be able to do a cross-chain transaction with xCall as a non-developer. That's how easy it should be. Yeah.
I mean, hopefully, like everything else, even like these incentivized testnet challenges. Yeah, I mean, the more we could get, non-developers, involved and all of that would be awesome. And I'm sure like that. I mean, we're constantly thinking of ways to get all our community members involved. So
Yeah.
I apologize if I went a little bit too negative on participation and all of that. But anyways, moving
I
on.
don't think so. I think 95% of the incentivized testnet challenges are developer oriented for very
Yeah,
good reason. So I don't think there is any negativity there. But as users, there's one or two challenges available, and otherwise it's just using and providing feedback on products that you see getting dropped. Um,
there's hope. There's hope for everyone. That's what I want to say.
as long as there's hope for me from a developer perspective, one day I'll be able to do a cross chain transaction. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Now, we can zoom out a bit as we get towards the end of this catch up.
Hmm.
And I have a couple of questions about the general blockchain space. I was wondering about your view on the blockchain interoperability space. The way it is now with big players, lots of bridges, interoperability protocols. We have Polkadots and Cosmoses of the world. Um, how mature is it if you compare it to like when Icon started out, which is like 5-6 years ago, and how mature is it if you would draw a timeline to full maturity? How far along are we? Um, if that
Oh
makes sense.
man,
Yeah.
we are so far away from um, Yeah, I mean, I would say we're still in the first inning of everything, just because of the fact that we're looking at like a very very short uh, time frame of like what we expect the blockchain life to be, right? I mean, we expect blockchain to have many many um innovations in the future, and we're just in this like very very beginning stages of everything, right? We're still in a very very experimental stage, and that's the reason why a lot of people compare blockchain to internet. Is because back in like you know the late or mid 1990s, you couldn't really do much with internet except a few things like just log on and talk to your friends, and even that was like a much bigger use case, and it inspired a lot of other things. And
Hmm.
in terms of like internet infrastructure, we needed to build that out for years and years and years. And I've been only doing this for what, 6 years. Ethereum launched what in 2014 and 15. So, it hasn't even been a decade since we've, started, you know, dreaming about the potential of blockchain. And we're talking about interoperability, which literally just started like a year ago or maybe a couple of years ago, right? And when it
Yeah.
comes to like understanding like the possibilities, what we've experienced so far is like a very, very small sliver of, just like a simple token transfers, right? Between a few blockchains, and that even that hasn't really worked out, like has so many exploits and flaws in it that we need to redesign and recreate a lot of these. And now you're seeing um newer, I guess, solutions come into marketplace. Icon, we've kind of redesigned um our architecture, or our solution a few times as well. So overall, like I said, we're still extremely extremely early. And we talk about like you know I think a lot of um solutions boast that they have a lot the most chain integrations, that they have the most transaction. Like, honestly, in my opinion, those are all not as important, because at this time, it's not very sustainable.
Hmm.
um I think in the future there will be more and more newer chains that will come into play. Most of the chains that you see today are just going to go obsolete. So you really got to look at this from like you know for like decades of time frame, right? So we can't be too short sighted when it comes to the current market environment.
Yeah.
um what I always stress to my team is like, we're building for not just today, not just for tomorrow, but for the next decade or so, right? So we got to make sure that we emphasize like security, and making sure that like we make products that are usable, that the people like, that people are passionate about, you know and I think at the end of the day, that's how we become sustainable, and how we stay in the game for the long term.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. I think that's a really good answer, and possibly a really good ending to this catch up. Actually, is there any talking points other than this that you would like to address while we're here, or are you happy with the the topics that we've covered and the time that we spent? So
A good question. It's sort of past, again, it's past my bedtime, so I'm kind of like, I
yeah,
feel like I'm
that's what I was thinking about
gibbering
too.
on, and I'm not thinking straight, and I'm just like, you know, maybe it's kind of re-emphasizing, kind of going back to, kind of what we talked about. One, I think, to sum up everything, I think security is extremely important. So I think, um, that's something that we've been spending time on, and we will continue to do so to make our, everything that happens in the ecosystem is secure. So, at the end of the day, we want people to feel safe using our product, belonging in our, being in our ecosystem, being in our community. We want to create like a very safe environment. So, and we want to add value and create value for the industry and for our users, for the developers. So, I just want to urge everyone to, keep following us, following our podcasts, our videos, Inside Icon,
Subscribing,
subscribing, press that
sharing.
subscribe button.
That's it. That's it.
You gotta do
Yeah.
that, point that out.
Hit the share button, send it to your family and friends today. Yeah, that's important too.
Yeah. And shameless plug would be, please check out our public incentivized testnet for xCall. It's going to be great. We spent a lot of time on it, and we're very proud of like what we're building. Give us some genuine feedback, and join our community because we're doing very exciting things here.
I second that. And on that note, I want to thank you, Min, for being here. I know the hour. Happy to have you. Next month, another episode of Inside Icon with Fez and Min to catch up once again. That would be August. For now, we're done. So I'd say thanks everyone for listening, and thank you, Min, and see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.